Hello, everyone. Welcome to APH Virtual Excel Academy. We are so glad to have you with us today. Today is Likeable versus Likes. Strong and safe communication on social media. We are so glad to have you join us today. Feel free to drop your name in the chat, who you are, where you're from. We'd love to say hi to our friends who have joined us today. Welcome again to the APH Virtual Excel Academy. Today is Likeable versus Likes. Strong and safe communication on social media. I'm on social media. I'm going to need this lesson too. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Virtual Excel Academy. Likeable versus Likes. Strong and safe communication on social media. Today, our lesson will be from Corina A. Lopes. This is geared to our students who are in middle and high school. If you are in a different grade, it is okay. You're welcome to stay. But again, we're kind of gearing it toward our middle and high school students. One more time, it is Likeable versus Likes, strong and safe communication on social media. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Corina. Hello, Corina, how are you?
Hi, it's so nice to see you and meet you. Doing well, thank you. Okay, so I want to thank everyone for coming and showing up today. As has been mentioned, I'm Corina Lopes. I am over a 15-year communications professional. And I just wanted to say that even though we are focusing, or the title is on social media, everything we're going to be learning today is communication that works in any platform, in any format. Interface, in person with your mom, your dad, your best friend, the cashier clerk. These tips are going to work. Obviously online, if you're texting, any way that we're communicating, these are solid communication strategies that are going to make you stronger and more confident in your messaging. If you see me looking down every once in a while, I'll be looking at my notes. So if I'm looking to the side, I'm going to try and make this interactive and answer your questions as you have them. I'm going to be asking you some questions. Really would love some participation. So let's get this underway. How many of you have ever heard of the game word association? Have you ever played the game word association? If you have, please type Y for yes or N for no. Okay, I see Ren has never played word association. Anybody else? No from Zachary. Okay, let me give you a quick definition on word association. It's a game that people play. Somebody says one word and the other person says, Cami says no, says a word that they associate with it. So, for example, if I were to say the word sunshine, what would you associate with sunshine? There's no right or wrong. Please type it in the chat.
Hi, Corina. This is Robin. It
Hi,
looks
Robin.
like we already have a student that wants to participate with her voice. So Isabel has raised her hand, and I bet she has permission to speak. So if she wants to go ahead and unmute, sometimes that's just hitting spacebar. Maybe she can tell you about her experience with word association.
Okay, go ahead, Isabel.
I have not played that game before. It sounds like fun.
It is super fun, and we're actually playing right now. Renata has associated the word sunshine with the word flowers. Thank you, Renata, and thank you, Isabel. All right, let's do. Thank you, and don't forget to unmute, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Zachary says clouds, sunshine and clouds. Wow, I like that. Opposites here. Okay, one more time, sunshine. Anybody else want to give it a shot? Sunshine. Robin says California. Yes, the southwestern United States has a lot of sunshine. Well done. That's a fun party game that people play. It just kind of gives insight into personality and just makes people laugh and have fun. So now that we played traditional word association, where it's one thing associated with another, we're going to play emotional word association. So it's just like the game we just played, where I said sunshine and you guys said other words. But instead of saying other things, I want you to associate a feeling. How does that word make you feel? So before I ask you a question, I will give you an example of what I mean. Ready? I say the word intelligent. Intelligent. How could that make someone feel? If someone called me or said the word intelligent to me, I might associate it with confident. I would feel confident at hearing intelligent. There's no right or wrong. Thank you, Renata, for agreeing with confident. There's no right or wrong. And if no one's judging what your feelings are, because feelings can never be wrong, all right? So now we're gonna play the game. And if we have any brave souls who want to bear their feelings to the world, we'll applaud you. Okay, let's start with the word beautiful. I am calling you beautiful. How do you feel when you think of the word beautiful? Zach says he's confused with the word beautiful. Zach, are you confused with the game or the word? Cami Cordero says happy. So if you hear the word beautiful, I'm calling you beautiful. Cami is feeling happy. One more time. I'm calling you beautiful. Zach says he is not beautiful. He wants handsome. Zach, you're handsome. How does that make you feel? Monica says special. Great. I love it. Okay, everyone, we're going to move to a second word. Zach says he's happy at handsome. Good. Second word, idiot. Someone called you an idiot. Someone says you're an idiot. How does that make you feel? Zach says he feels embarrassed at the word idiot. Okay. Anybody else? Renata agrees with Zach. It is an embarrassing feeling. Disappointed. I like that. Disappointed at yourself or at the other person. Interesting. Monica feels worthless. It is a hollowing feeling to be called an idiot. All right, our last word, and we're going to end on a high one. Courageous. You are courageous for sharing your feelings. Courageous. How do you feel? How do you feel when I say you are courageous? Zach says he's proud. Renata says she's uplifted. Monica says talented. Okay, very good. And if we have anyone who wants to say vocally what they feel, please let our moderators know, and we will definitely tap in. Oh, Cami Cordero says, not afraid. Very good. Very good. You can take on the world. That's what we love. So with this little game that we played, well, let me ask you a question. Why do you think I played this emotional word association game with you? What could have been the lesson we learned with this game? Any takers? Monica says that words make you feel things, question mark. Zach says, don't call names at people. Yes. And Monica, you're spot on. Words do make us feel things. Actually, words have power. You might have grown up hearing the little ditty, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me. Well, in a physical sense, that's true. No one can hurl a word at you or toss a word at you and have it bruise you outside. But words, and social scientists, psychologists, people in communication fields have been studying over years that there is real biophysical impact that words have on us, on our psychology, and physically on our bodies. It just all happens chemically inside. So what do I mean by that? We got to think about our brain. How many of you truly ever think about your brain during the day? Like, do you ever stop to think about your brain? I know I don't, not often. It's in there, but I'm so used to it that I don't stop to think about it. Zach says no. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Monica says never. See, we take our brain for granted, but it is our command center. It controls everything in our bodies, from our thoughts to the biophysical responses that we have, to the way that we interact with the world, to the way that we stay alive. We obviously need our brains. We just never think about them or what they do. So in our brains and then through our bodies, down our spinal cords and then branched out, we have things called neurons. And they send little responses, electrical responses to each other. And different little neuron groups live in different spots in our brain that tap into different parts of our bodies. So whenever you hear a word like beautiful or idiot or courageous or notice outside stimuli, the neurons, they're firing at the synapses. They are firing information to each other, telling our brain to tell our body to do something, to, in other words, react. A lot of this is done subconsciously. We're not even aware of it. When we're aware of it, that's called response. There's react and there's response. And our neurons and our brains develop things in our bodies. And some of those things are connected to other things like hormones. And so there are 3 specific hormones that communication taps into: cortisol, dopamine, and serotonin. You might have heard of some of these, and we're not going to go into a deep anatomy class today. But when we speak to each other, we are elevating those 3 hormones at different rates when we interact with each other in different ways. The dopamine is sometimes known as the happy hormone. It's what lifts our mood. It keeps us happy. It's what it triggers addiction, or addiction can be triggered by constant stimulus of dopamine. It's also the planning hormone. If you know a certain stimulus will make you happy, you will plan your day to get in contact with the happiness. Serotonin, that is the calming hormone. We use it when we want to sleep. It just calms things down. Cortisol is the fight or flight hormone. It's the one that lets us know there's danger. We have to react to survive in some sort of way. Okay, I think I hear my 5-year-old daughter coming down the stairs. You will see me put react or response into action should she just fling open the door into this room. So how does this work with social media? 1 second, here she is. Hi, sweetheart. Mommy is in the middle of her meeting right now. Can we, no, this is gonna be on the internet. I don't want people to see your face, okay? We wanna keep you safe. Can you, see? I am feeling embarrassed right now. I'm lifting my cortisol. I'm going to pause to bring in some dopamine and respond to her. Yes, what's the matter? Okay, I'll watch Mama Odie in a minute, okay? I have to finish this. I love you. I love you. Okay, I love that song. We'll sing it later. We were watching Disney's Princess and the Frog, another dopamine-inducing movie. At any rate, I apologize for that interruption. So, how does this work with social media? Can you guys answer that question? Take a stab at it. How does this discussion about words having power and our biophysical responses to words respond or correlate to social media engagement? Think about it. Zachary says people can be mean on it. Renata says maybe something someone says over the internet could affect you. Yes. All right, so we have the surface level. There's 2 levels in social media. So you have the surface, the interfacing. Okay, I'm on Instagram. I see a picture of a beautiful sunset, and there's that little heart that I can just press like, or if I'm really wowed, I will type or dictate something into my phone that says, gorgeous picture, thanks for sharing. All right, there's that surface level. Then there is the second level, the architects, the people who build and create social media for us. So you have the influencers, but behind even the influencers, behind even the owners of those platforms are the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world. And I'm not here to down or give political views on any of the Silicon Valley folks. They have made my world a lot easier and better in many ways. But we're talking about algorithms. How many of you are aware of algorithms and how they work? Just say I, just put the letter I if you are aware of algorithms and how they work. Zach says it's math. There is a math involved. Renata asks, isn't there a thing where if you search certain things, you get certain ads? Yes, yes. All right, now we're getting onto it. There is a math. There is a math. It's data, and there are equations to certain responses being targeted to certain arenas, and that's where the ads come in. So if you have a social media account, and let's say, we'll just use Instagram because that's an easy one, or YouTube works on the same premise. You have your picture up of the sunset, okay? You can look at the math. You can actually go online and search when is the best time to make a post about sunsets or about nature. And it'll give you all this data, meaning people, when they're online, when they're looking for those nature posts, and it'll up your visibility. But the other thing is you're also being targeted. If you're posting information, you can also be the target of information, which is what Renata was referring to. But the third element here is, let's go back to our Instagram picture with the sunset, and people put on captions. And instead of just saying, my beautiful sunset in my backyard, if someone says, only intelligent people will recognize what this is, what has that person done? I'll tell you, clickbait. You're either proud, like, I know what this is. I'm intelligent. This is somebody I want to follow. this is somebody I want to respond to. Or, I don't get what this is, but it doesn't mean I'm dumb. Doesn't mean I'm not intelligent. And you're going to engage. You're going to like or you're going to dislike. It doesn't matter for the architects and the algorithms. It doesn't matter what you approve or don't approve of in your engagement. What matters is that you are engaging. People are monetizing off of your emotions. They're monetizing off of your reactions. So how can you be a communicator that isn't a clickbaiter? How can you be a communicator that respects other people's emotions? How can we do this and still be popular and still be likable and not just be after the likes, after the engagement? Okay, we're going to move on to the 3 no's. Has anyone heard of the 3 no's? Say Y for yes, N for no. The 3 no's. Monica says no. Zach says no. That's enough for me. Okay. Zach says no. Zach says, unless it is the monkeys. No, it's not about the monkeys. But the 3 no's. Okay, Cami does not know either. Great. That's why you're here, to learn about it. I just want to reiterate that the lessons you learn here aren't just for social media. The 3 no's, they can be useful in all sorts of communication in your life. No, in this sense, is spelled K-N-O-W. Knowledge no. So it's your 3 no's. Zach says, hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. Those are good 3 no's, and they will tie into what we're going to be talking about here. In communication, you always need to know your audience. You always need to know your voice. And you always need to know your limitations. Those are your 3 no's. I will repeat the 3 no's. Know your audience. Know your voice. Know your limitations. Okay, from Robin, we got know your audience. She's typing it in the chat for everyone to look back on. Know your audience, know your voice, know your limitations. All right, what can I mean by, well, what do you think I mean when I say know your audience? What does that mean? Please type what you think or indicate that you would like to vocalize what you think it means to know your audience. Renata wants to know if she can speak. Does that mean in this lesson, or are
Yes.
you okay?
Ren, you want to turn on your microphone?
Okay, yeah, hi. I was just thinking, like, you know, like influencers and how they have certain audiences, like they usually have a target demographic. I think that's how you know what to post. Like there's maybe like a TikToker and they have like 5-year-old people, like they have to know to not post certain things or it will like affect the 5-year-old brain.
Perfect. So that's knowing your audience. What I like what you said. It's tapping into or thinking about who is most likely to receive your information. Zach says basically what I said, know who is reading. Monica says maybe know who you are talking to. Exactly. Think about your audience. But how? Is it just enough to, let's say you went online and you looked at certain demographics that you want to hit. You want to hit 12 to 16-year-olds. Just knowing their age, is that enough? Or when you're talking to someone who's, let's say, 75 years old, is that all you need to know about that person to have a meaningful conversation, meaningful engagement? What do you think? What does it really mean to know our audience aside from a general? Trick question. Not really, but it goes deep. So here are some examples that you should ask yourself. What do they need from me? Zach says, sometimes guys want to talk about games and girls don't. Yeah. So Zach, as example, if your audience is a bunch of girls that you did not meet through gaming, all right, and you don't know, maybe you don't lead with gaming. You might not. You got to temper the room. See how they're feeling, how they're responding, okay? So, but first, basic communication. What does the person who's approaching me need from me? Okay? Online, any engagement that comes to you, that's someone approaching you, taking time out of their day to come to you. Why? Why are they coming to you? All right? What do they need from you? How do they like to receive their content? How do they like to receive their message? Do they enjoy more videos instead of words? More pictures? Do they enjoy more music with the pictures, or do they enjoy the pictures without the music? Okay? You have to think about how the audience likes to receive their information and what is the information they need specifically from you. Monica says that she has never thought about this before. Well, I'm glad. Otherwise, my class would be redundant. So I'm glad you never thought of it before. Makes me feel good. Thank you. But this can happen in real life too, right? When you are speaking with someone you're meeting on the bus, don't make it all about yourself. Open up to them. Gather that information to know what makes them tick so you can have meaningful conversation, not manipulative. That will probably be a class for another time, but meaningful. All right, so now we're going to go into our second no. Now that we're thinking about our audience, their likes, their dislikes, their needs, how they best receive the information they need to get, let's think about the other person in this communication, you. So, number 2, know your voice. What do you think that means? Know your voice. I'll give you a second or two to give me some responses. Okay, Monica says that it means knowing how you like to talk. Yes, we'll get into that in a second. Zach says he isn't sure. All he can think of is to not shout. Also, yes. And so online etiquette, don't write in all caps, everything. No one likes to be shouted at in real life. No one wants to see it online. Okay, so know your voice. And you guys tapped into those things, starting with, how do I like to communicate? How do I like to talk? Don't use slurs. Renata says, don't use slurs that are rude. That's a big trigger. Yeah, don't go insulting people. You can get your message across without having to be impolite or rude. So, know your voice. And here we go, some questions. Ready? Rhetorical. These are questions for you to think about. Monica asks if all caps means shouting. Yes, Monica, all caps means shouting. So avoid writing a sentence in all caps. Unless, caveat, unless your audience needs it. If a certain technology, if a certain audience, let's say with a certain visual impairment, it makes it clearer for that font to be in all caps, and that's fine. But everyone using that knows that it's part of the program. It's part of the technology. So in that case, you would be making accessibility. But in normal terms, all caps would be shouting. Monica says she gets it now. Her mom might use all caps when I have to clean up. Moms are allowed to use all caps. That's the other caveat. Okay, so know your voice. Just like we have to ask our audience, what do you need? You got to think, what do I want to share with the world? Don't just, do you walk outside of the house in the morning, open your front door and say, neighbors, I'm awake and I feel like drinking some tea? I mean, do you? If you do, that's a lot of confidence, and I don't even really know what to do with you, but maybe other people do. So if you don't do that in real life, think about if you want to do that on your social media presence, because it's an extension of yourself. Your social media presence is a virtual version of you. Think about it, not just friends and people you know now, but future professors, employers, romantic partners. So these are the people that whatever you write about today are going to know about later. Okay, think about that. Something that you post today, so you post your beautiful sunset on Instagram and you say, you put a little caption, today was a hard day, but this sunset made it all worth it. That's your caption, okay? Hashtag happy life. You're posting that today. Is that something, is that an insight to your personality in your world that you would not be embarrassed to share 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 10 years from now, with the boss, with an HR representative, with a clergy leader, with a possible boyfriend or girlfriend? Okay? Are you putting things out there that you would feel comfortable putting out there? Zach wants to know what the hashtag is. Sure, let's talk into that. Let's segue a second. So on Instagram, on YouTube, on other social media sites, on Twitter it's really big. If you look at your keyboard, it used to be, back in the olden days when I was a girl, there was a symbol that you had 2 vertical signs crossed with 2 horizontal signs on top. It looked like a little tic-tac-toe box. And that's the pound sign. Now with social media, they call it the hashtag. So when you put the pound symbol, you type the pound symbol and then put a word next to it like gorgeous or birthday or vote, all right? That's going strong right now. It connects your post to all the other posts talking about the same thing with the same hashtag. So anybody who's searching for that can look you up. If your profile is private, does it still connect? Yes, but only those in your account, only those who you allow to see your account can access it. Does that make sense? Zach says that would share it too much. He won't use it. And you don't have to. It's about knowing your voice and knowing your limitations. We'll get to that right now. Let me just finish with knowing our voice, because this is true with not just social media, but also in real life. Okay. Think about why you want to share what you're sharing. Are you trying to be an advocate right now for the visually impaired community? Are you putting something out there that will help family and friends who are not visually impaired understand what your world and life is like? Are you spreading knowledge? Are you spreading joy? Are you just sharing? Want to connect with other human beings? All of those reasons are valid. You just have to think about if it's worthwhile to you or not. Will this information add to the virtual conversation, or will it create contention or more noise? This is especially important when you are responding to a conversation that's already going on. Oftentimes in social media, you'll have the comments section, or any online platform. Let's say you're reading the New York Times or the Deseret News or the London Times. They'll have comments. Any news channel will have comments section where readers, participants can comment on what was read or written or whatever the video was about, let's say ESPN, okay? Are you going to be just jumping in, repeating what everyone else is saying, which is okay, it's not bad nor good, unless you make it ugly. Is this going to help the person, the content producer, that's the journalist, the person who's putting the video, whomever the influencer, the content producer, that's another word for them. Is that going to help them create better, stronger content? In essence, are you allowing them to know what you as the audience member needs? Or is it just going to be pushing them down? So ask yourself, and whatever your voice, whether you're posting the content or you're responding as an audience member, because your digital footprint will be there, whether you are the one creating the content or responding to content. Are you using your words constructively, or are you using your words in ways that will make both you and the person who's reading or responding to you feel bad about themselves? Okay, so be constructive communicators. Doesn't mean you can't offer constructive criticism. You just have to do it in a way that helps someone or the community get better. All right, lastly, know your limitations. This is our third no. Know your limitations. What do you think that means? Know your limitations. Go ahead and give it a stab. You've been doing great so far. Renata says, don't say stuff you aren't comfortable with. Yup. Big yup. Anything else? Zach says, stop before you get there. Okay. All right. Can you give me a little more insight on that, Zach? What does that mean? Stop before you get there. Okay. Okay. Joy says, know how much to share so you don't get hurt. Yes. Protect yourself. Monica says, reread before you hit send. Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Zach says, I don't want to hit my limit. Okay. Are we talking our emotional limit or our physical fatigue limit? Both of those are important. Ashley says, know how far you're willing to go. Okay. Okay. So let's see. Zach says too much to read and take care of on social media. Yeah, there's definite social media fatigue. Don't get involved with everything. And that's kind of what knowing your voice taps into a little bit too. You just because it's there doesn't mean you have to respond or speak to it. So let's go into know your limitations. So here we go. We're talking about the health level here. How is your mental health after social media engagement? Check in with yourself. How are you feeling after engaging online? Remember, you're not engaging with the computer, you're engaging with other people. How do they make you feel? The platform itself can be fatiguing to our eyes, and so it also creates biophysical response. Maybe the people that you're speaking to are fine, but the platform gets you tired, which is fine. So know how long you can interact. Joy says, kind of sad sometimes because you compare yourself to what you see. Yes, and that goes back to our words have power, our emotional word association game. What you read, even if it's not speaking directly to you, but it makes you aware about the world around you. And if it's constantly negative, you will biophysically, your neurons will start firing and your cortisol will go up. It will stress you out. So when we talk about knowing your limits, it's about knowing how long you can be online, knowing, another point, which accounts make you feel good and which don't? Which news channels make you feel good and which don't? Have you had news overload? Here in the United States of America, we will be having elections next week, presidential elections. It has been a crazy time. It's been the only talk on the news and on all news channels and news related channels and platforms. I have had to take a break for the past 3 days. It has been emotionally and mentally unhealthy for me to tap into that right now. I am an informed citizen, but at the moment I'm taking a little break so that next week I can be confident in going to the polls. Monica says that she quit following a few people because every time she viewed their posts, it made her feel bad about herself. It wasn't worth it. Yes, you have every power and every right to walk away. Set limits on what you consume and set limits on what you produce. Just because people want you to respond online or in a certain time does not mean you have to. Zachary stopped going to one gaming channel because people did not follow the rules or enforce them. That's frustrating. When you're part of a group, you all agree on something and then nobody follows through. That is absolutely correct and totally fine to do. So you guys seem to know your limits really well, and I'm proud of you for that. Continue building on your limits. So let's just reiterate really quick what the 3 no's are. Know your audience. Think about what their needs are. Think about why they're coming to you. Think about how they like to receive their information. Know your voice. Who do you want to be known as? Think about how you want people to remember you. Think about how much you want to share. Think about how comfortable you are in sharing things about yourself or about your life. 3, know your limits, know your limitations on engagement, on the amount of time that you're on social media, as well as the channels and sites that you visit and spend time in. Renata says, sometimes it's hard to unfollow certain people because you don't realize that it's bad at first. And that's okay. You know, on social media, Renata and all of you, I want you to be aware, this is the first time in human history that we've ever been so readily accessible to each other. I mean, in nanoseconds. Our brains were not hardwired for that sort of instantaneous, widespread communication. We're learning, and that's why the limitations are so important. If you're having difficulty unfollowing someone and want to, but don't know how to go about it, go speak to a trusted source on how to do that. But know that you have a right to set up boundaries in your life on what's healthy for yourself. If you would not spend time with a certain individual in real physical life, then you should not spend that time with a certain individual in virtual life, in the ether, okay? And if you need help doing that, speak with the school guidance counselor, speak with the parent, speak with someone who you trust who can help you navigate out of that situation. You have every right to set up boundaries in your own life, okay? And don't beat yourself up for not knowing at first. It happens to adults. Like I said, social media is new. We're all learning. And sometimes people put the best foot forward and later on you see, ooh, they're not so great. They're not who I thought they were. And that's okay. That's okay to change your mind. And it's okay. Don't feel bad and don't beat yourself up. All right, now we're going to move on to, let's see here. My eyes just, all right. Responsible engagement, respond versus react. I kind of talked about that at the beginning, especially when my daughter came down, surprised us. My body was starting to react to the veering off plan. My cortisol was going up. My palms started getting sweaty. I was blushing. I could feel the heat. It would have been really easy for me to say, hey, daughter, shut that door, get out of here. That's what I wanted to say. That's what my body was gearing me to do. Fight it off, push her away. Monica says she has felt that way many times. Yeah, it's our body's natural response to things that we find threatening to what we're doing at the moment. I had to take a deep breath. Just by even talking it out to you guys while it was happening in real time forced me to calm down. The cortisol was being pushed down because the dopamine was coming up. The serotonin was coming up. It forced me to be able to calm down, and that allowed my brain to think about a solution. It stopped my body from reacting and allowed my brain to think about a solution. And that's what you want to do in communication. You always want to respond instead of react. So how can we do that? How can we respond instead of react, especially on social media, right? But in real life, this is what we do. Troubleshoot. Ask yourself, am I reading or hearing the message correctly? Was there a typo or glitch that could have alerted or altered the message? Sorry. Is the perspective someone offering valid even if I don't agree with it? That's a hard one. That's about putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Is it valid even if I don't agree with it? Was the communication of the perspective respecting me as an audience through appropriate tone and word choice? So even if someone was saying, I just don't understand people who have dark curly hair, which I happen to have. If I was reading something that said, I don't understand people who have dark curly hair, I just don't understand them. My initial reaction could be, hey, what's wrong with people with dark curly hair? We're fine. What do you mean you don't understand us? But let me take a step back. Was there anything offensive in that sentence? I don't understand people with dark curly hair. Was there? You guys let me know if there was. I'll repeat it. I don't understand people with dark curly hair. Say yes if it was offensive, no if it wasn't. I can't tell if it is offensive or not, says Renata. Okay, valid. Monica says, no, it's not offensive. Zach says, no, it's not offensive. Cami says, yes, it is offensive. Renata says, it's just how you decide to take it. Ashley Anderson says, no. So you all are right in a sense, because communication is two people. So I'm gonna take from Renata, it's just how you decide to take it. If I decide to go on my reaction, and I start assuming that the other person who wrote, I don't understand people with dark curly hair, wanted to start a fight, wanted to be mean, if I make that assumption about that person, then I will be offended. But if I just look at it, say, she didn't call me anything mean. She didn't say people with dark curly hair are ugly idiots. She just said, I don't understand them. Then I will assume good intent. This is someone who's just stating a fact of their life. They did not use offensive word choice. The tone was neutral, okay? There were no exclamation points. It was just a period. There was nothing there to allow me to interpret that they were trying to be mean. It was a neutral tone with neutral words. So no, I guess I don't have to be offended if I choose not to be. Karen says it is singling out dark curly hair. It could be, but it could also just be saying, I don't understand. Help me learn more about you guys. I think it's beautiful. We don't know the assumption. It is singling out, but neither negatively nor positively. Does that make sense? We would have to engage with that individual positively, right? Constructively. So I could say, sure, Karen, it feels offensive to you. Sure. This is how we can Zach says some people have no hair. That's true, but they're not part of that conversation, right? We're just looking at that sentence. People with dark, I don't understand people with dark curly hair. So I would go back and say, hi, so-and-so, I have dark curly hair. What do you not understand? Can you please clarify? And that person might come back, will give me information about what they don't understand that will allow me to know, is this a good player or a bad player? Is this someone that I can have constructive conversation, meaningful conversation with? Maybe help them learn more about the dark curly hair life? Or is this someone who, oh no, they're just picking on us? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Remember, when you're the one speaking or putting out information, always assume impact over intent. When you are the listener, always assume good intent over impact. And that's where we can meet in the middle. Karen asks, when that is written instead of spoken, it feels offensive. Again, it goes back to our feelings. You have to look at, was the word choice neutral? If the word choice is neutral, then you cannot assume bad intent. There's no assuming good or bad intent isn't there because word choice is neutral. If tone is neutral, again, that reinforces we cannot make assumptions on intent. Ashley Anderson says, sometimes we have a tendency to assume what people are saying. And do you guys know that old phrase? Never assume, because when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. Okay, I want everyone to do, we're gonna end on this little object lesson. Everyone make a fist. It doesn't have to be tight, but make a fist. Put your arms straight out in front of you. Find where your elbow is, the inner joint of your elbow with your other hand. Keep that fist. Bend at the elbow so that your fist now is by your face or shoulder. Okay, so it feels tight, it's bent. What you're going to do with your other hand is you're going to put your thumb on one side of that bent elbow, the fleshy part, and your finger on the outside of that fleshy part. And you're going to squeeze as tight as you can, as tight as you can, as tight as you can. What do you notice? If you're pressing correctly, your arm will have hinged up a little, or your fist might have loosened ever so slightly. That's because the pressure that you put on one end of the arm released the tension. And that's the power of a pause. When you take the time to pause before responding, you are preventing reaction. Asking yourself, is word choice neutral? Is tone neutral? Am I assuming good intent? That's allowing for a pause to take place, reducing the tension, and allowing for you to respond instead of react. When you react, all that does is escalate into negative, non-constructive communication. Response allows for engagement. And I think that's our time today. I really enjoyed being with all of you. Thank you all so much for your responses and for your honesty and for sharing out there. I really enjoyed it. Bye.
Thank you so much, Corina. That was wonderful. Boy, we are going to be watching ourselves, our words, what we say, what we write, what we type. Very interesting. Those of you who want to know what's coming next, tomorrow is Farm Animals and Sounds. It's meant for our students who might have multiple disabilities, but everyone is welcome, so you're welcome to come if you want. Next week, we have music, what makes music moving and grooving on Tuesday, and cooking tips and tricks with young adults. So it's cooking without looking, and those young adults are cooking without looking. So again, you might find those more interesting depending on what days are more matched to what you want. So thank you for joining us, and Corina, thank you so much. Woo! We'll give you a round of applause. And I will let you all go, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye, all.